Hi, and welcome to Synchronicity, talk radio for your mind, body, and soul. I'm your host, Marie Benard, and today we are speaking with Duane. Mal is a former model who struggled to recover from alcoholism and wondering how she'd make it through another day. She was stuck in a pattern of self-sabotage. She went through a shocking and painful divorce that she never saw coming, and she started a multi-million-dollar real estate company. She became a best-selling author of Alpha Chick, 5 Steps for Moving from Pain to Power, and now she's a philanthropist and a life recovery coach who helps women take back their lives, thank goodness. And she's here today to talk with us about her latest book, Broken Open, Embracing Heartache and Betrayal as Gateways to Unconditional Love. Welcome to the show, Mal.
Oh, Marie, I'm so excited to be here with you, girl.
Thanks for being with me. I'm really excited to have you, especially after reading your book, Broken Open. So tell us a little bit about how all this happened. You were married for about a decade, and then it all just went to hell. What happened?
Right before my 10th wedding anniversary, I uncovered an unthinkable betrayal in the marriage, and that experience just gutted me. I felt like I was bleeding out. I didn't know how to cope, what to do. So the first thing I did was start to go to some support groups. And when I got there, it was shattering what I was saying. I saw so many women that were caught in anger and pain. They had given up on life. Their health had been compromised. Many of them were saying, I'm never gonna effing love again. And I was like, oh my God, this is more tragic than what initially happened. A couple of things I learned was, one, that betrayal, it doesn't matter what the act is, the wound is very similar in everyone I spoke to. You're gutted, you're broken open, you feel, you just don't think you're going to survive. But when I saw all these women that 5, 10, 15 years later were still in that pain, I said, oh my God, I don't want to be like that. I need to figure this out. And if I do figure it out, I'm going to write about it. And that's how the book came about.
Yay, awesome. Well, you have it. It's such an important book for anyone who has been through any kind of betrayal. And I like what you said about how it doesn't really matter what the betrayal was. It could be cheating. It could be an addiction, gambling, hiding things, secrets. It's the broken trust. It's the belief that this person is someone that you can count on, and then finding out that they're not even really who you thought they were.
It's the break in the bond of trust, I think, is huge. For me, trust is everything. When I can trust, I can love. Without trust, I can't be a friend, never mind a partner. So when that trust is just shattered, just like that, gone, it's like, oh my God, all my hopes, all my dreams, all your expectations of how you think you're going to live the rest of your life go up in a puff of smoke. So I want women to understand, I'm not in any way diminishing the pain that they're in when I talk about the women that I see at these meetings, but it was, how do we heal? How do we get out of the anger? How do we transform this pain into a powerful lesson so that we can reclaim our lives and love again?
Beautiful, Mal. Well, you spent quite a bit of time after this initial discovery of the betrayal. You spent quite a lot of time trying to work on things. Can you share with us a little bit about what that was like and the insights you gained from that?
I didn't want to give up right away. Having been in recovery myself, having made every mistake a woman can make, I'm not without flaws. So I didn't want to be too locked into my judgment of how I thought things should be. I said, let me see how we can evolve from this. How can we grow from this? How can we work together? And I tried very hard, but what I found was I was getting resistance and denial I wasn't getting the trust and the accountability that I needed to have something to build upon. That wasn't there. And in fact, I kept discovering that I was being lied to. So and even going through marriage counseling and all of those things, I was still not getting the truth. And I felt I deserved the truth. I felt it was time. If there was ever a moment that we needed to be humble and ask for forgiveness and to speak our truth, this was the moment. And I wasn't getting that. So I knew I had done everything I could possibly do that was within me, that I was capable of, and it didn't work. Then I came to the decision that there was only one path to take.
Thanks, Mel. I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that a lot of people feel like, oh, if there's any kind of betrayal, you should leave right away and it's unforgivable. And that's not what you're saying. If both people, because we all make mistakes, none of us are perfect. We've all betrayed other people on one level or another. But
we betray ourselves all the time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Most of all, right?
Yes. So no, if it's workable, you're going to know. You're going to know if you're making progress. You're going to feel it in your gut, like this is going in the right direction. It may be in tiny increments, but you'll know if you're going forward. I kept feeling like I was stepping in a ditch. And I was just falling flat on my face again. And after so many times of doing that, I said, I don't have it in me anymore to do it. And my health was starting to get compromised. I was getting very tired. I wasn't sleeping. I was losing weight. I just wasn't well. And that's when I knew it was time. It was time to pull my focus, the intention, everything that I was putting out there on him, hoping to see a change in his behavior, and pull that focus in and say, now it's time to strictly concentrate on what I can do.
Good for you. So right now we are speaking with Mal Duane. She is the author of Broken Open, Embracing Heartache and Betrayal as Gateways to Unconditional Love. And her website is malduanecoach.com. So let's talk about, there's so many, I've got all these notes here that I want to ask you all about. This really, this quote kind of hit me as I was reading it. The more time I spent trying to solve his problems, the deeper he fell into his patterns. I was doing all the work for him. And he'd swear to do better only to be caught in a lie a few days later. So that was the pattern that was happening, was you were trying to repair things and he was saying that he wanted to work on things, right?
Right. I was trying to control his behavior. And guess what? We cannot do that. We cannot control somebody's behavior. We can ask them to come and play with us and engage in what we're trying to do. And you hold up your end and I'll hold up my end. But I got involved in really trying to manipulate it, and it just wasn't working. And so I recognized I was putting too much of me in. I was doing 150% here and I wasn't getting 10% back. That wasn't going to be a healthy foundation to build anything on. I had to step back completely, let him know I'm stepping back completely. You go, you figure this out, figure out what you want, what your priorities are, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, and then maybe we can have another conversation.
Mm-hmm. And then did you have more conversations? How did that work out?
They went downhill. No, they didn't go. They didn't get better. That's for sure. It started to just, get heated, and then it was a constant argument, and then the gaslighting, which is what narcissists can do. They throw it back on you and they say, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. It's you. You're the one that's screwed up here. So, I just realized I'm only creating more chaos and discordance for myself by trying to work at this too hard. I need to just cut the cords and see what will happen.
Good for you. And you used the word narcissist. I'm wondering if was your partner a classical narcissist, or because narcissism is a word that we throw around a lot these days, and there is kind of a spectrum. We can all be a little narcissistic at times. So
I think he was very narcissistic at the time. Mm-hmm. Today, I think that edge has softened greatly. I think there is an element of humility now that wasn't there before, and an element of truth and recognition as to just how horrific what he had done to me. And when I say that, I'm not a victim, but what had transpired, how painful it was. And so we're on very good terms now. Yeah. After going through, a rather unpleasant situation, heartbreaking, and then, of course, the divorce got heated. Today, we're on very good terms. And I think that the reason we are is because forgiveness and recognizing that I probably, I'm half of that relationship, so therefore I had part ownership in that. And I think that I obviously triggered things in him, and maybe I triggered the narcissism in him. But there was definitely, a very narcissistic edge to him when I was trying to fix the situation.
Thank you. You mentioned not being a victim, and that's another quote. Victimhood is not a coping strategy. Can we talk about what you mean when you say that?
Well, I think it's very easy for women to say, oh, look what happened to me. Look what he did to me. He broke my heart. And they are not taking any responsibility in the situation. And they're literally putting all their power in somebody else's hands. They're saying, I'm a victim to this person's behavior. Well, there's nothing further from the truth. You can use pain as a motivator to look within. There's a whole section in the book called The Wisdom in the Wound. You can use that pain to look at yourself and figure out, hey, what's going on with me? Within me, I call it looking under the hood, figuring out what are my patterns, what's my love story, how did I get here, how did I make the choices I made, and what are the lenses that I have on today that I'm looking at this current situation and formulating opinions. We don't do that. Women don't do that. They are looking at somebody, they're saying that they're a victim to their behavior, and they're not looking to see if there's been a pattern all the way through their lives and every person that they've loved, that there may be something common.
I just want to have a little disclaimer, because I feel like I'm going to get a complaint if we talk about women doing this specifically, but it's anyone who tends to get caught into that this is the world happening to me and I don't have any responsibility in it. And it's a pattern that it's easy to fall into. And it can be difficult to see when we're the one stuck in it. It's easy to look at other people and be like, oh, look how they're not taking any responsibility. But when we're in it, it's hard to see and recognize. But you also mention in your book about how when we're betrayed, often we think, oh, is this something I did? So there's sort of this balance between not taking all the responsibility of, well, that person betrayed me because I nagged them too much, or I wasn't open enough sexually, or whatever we want to label their behavior for, right? We don't want to take all the responsibility, but we also have to recognize that it takes two to tango. There's always some responsibility that fell on us, whether even that's just the responsibility of saying, hey, I'm not going to put up with this.
Beautiful. And the funny thing about betrayal, whether it's a man that betrays a woman or a woman that betrays a man, when they do, it's never about the partner. It is a missing piece within them that they are trying to fix. And they try to fill this void, this pain, this feeling of lack within them by pursuing something else, whatever the case may be. And it has nothing to do with our value or who we are or how good we are or anything like that. But usually when there's a betrayal, there has been breadcrumbs on the path. And this is what really fries my ass, because we ignore them. We overlook the little red flags, the little breadcrumbs that are on the path. And, that I'm just being paranoid. Oh, I'm being picky. No, maybe there's something there. And when you get that gut feeling that something's not right, you're probably right. You need to investigate. Why am I feeling like that? Why does that not feel right to me? Why is that like causing a little red flag to wave in my head? What's going on here? I ignored them. I admit it. There were some breadcrumbs on my trail, and I dismissed them because I didn't want to appear insecure. I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to take a chance that I'd blow up the whole relationship. So finally, the breadcrumbs became a whole loaf of bread.
But it's difficult to know sometimes, because you said, oh, well, there's this red flag, but it's just my insecurity. I'm being paranoid. And sometimes I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. I feel like sometimes in hindsight, it's easy to say, oh yeah, my gut was right. But when we're in it, there's all this other information, and we might talk to a friend and they might say, oh, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. How do you get clarity on that when it's not just our gut that we have to listen to?
Well, throughout the book, I talk about practices that I think help us to get clarity. And two of my favorite tools have always been meditation and journaling. But when I journal, I really do a deep inquiry. I ask myself questions after meditation. What do you think that means? Do you think that's real? What would be somebody else's opinion on this? What would he say? I mean, I asked very deep questions that inspired my soul to speak, not my ego. And I think when women write in a journal, Marie, they don't lie to themselves. They don't inflate things. It's really our heart coming through on paper. It's our our higher self speaking. I got a lot of clarity. I'll give you an example. I was writing one day, and I was absolutely convinced that my ex-husband had gone off and seen this woman. Now he's living on his own. And I was convinced. I said, oh, I know he's with this woman. And in my meditation, when I asked the question, is he really with this woman? You know what I got for an answer? You can assume anything you want and know nothing. Wow. I can assume anything I want and still know nothing. It doesn't mean it's the truth. So don't assume. Don't jump to things. So by just asking ourselves the deep questions, we can figure a lot of these things out on our own. Just getting quiet, getting out of that ego, that constant chatter that's telling you things aren't right, but when I say constant chat, it's a negative chatter. It's not a supportive voice. You have a whole nother voice within you that will nurture you, guide you through this process, where you can really make some very smart choices. And that's the key in the process, making the smart choices that support you, support your emotional healing, help you to release the trauma, because, boy, I'll tell you, betrayal just sets in your body. It's trauma in the cells. And if you don't do that clearing and that healing and that nurturing, you're going to carry it a long, long time.
Thanks, Mel. And I feel like that taking that time to process, if we're moving forward into a new relationship, it's easy to see those red flags and really be reactive to them. And one of the things I've learned is kind of to notice how we're feeling and notice patterns of behavior. So if we get one little feeling of red flagginess, just note it. We don't have to start digging and investigating in that time, but start to pay attention, and journaling helps so that you can start to see the patterns of, oh, well, I do tend to notice a red flag once a week or twice a week here. And then you can start putting the pieces together. Before we jump into a heavy duty relationship with someone, we can often see those warning signs and see a clear pattern if we take our time and don't just let our need to be with someone overtake us.
You know, the greatest thing a woman can do is learn what her love story is. We have 4 profiles that really all women or men can fall into. And there's an allower, where we just allow men to do anything, get away with it. We're a giver, where we just constantly give until we have nothing left to give. We're giving 150%. I'm guilty of both of those. That's why I talk about them right away. And I just had brain freeze. I couldn't think of the other 2. And but there are 4 in the book, and I just can't remember my other 2 right now.
That's okay.
But the allower and the giver are the most common ones. If you know your love story, and if you're a taker, where you marry for gain, financial gain, position. You came from a very modest background, so you want to acquire something of status and wealth is another one. Take time to figure out what is the similarity that you have experienced in all your relationships. And if you're in something new, what similarities are you seeing that maybe were displayed in your previous relationship? Very quickly, you're going to see you have a pattern.
And that's our pattern, not we can recognize the pattern of the person that we're dating, but it's important to recognize our own pattern. Yeah. First of all, we are speaking right now with Mal Duane. She is the author of Broken Open, Embracing Heartache and Betrayal as Gateways to Unconditional Love. You can find her at malduanecoach.com. And there was another quote in your book that struck a chord with me. It was, I'm paraphrasing here, but you're more afraid of being alone than being mistreated.
Yeah. And that's where the other profile comes in, the needer. We need to have a man, regardless. So we have to have that warm body. And we need to learn how to be with ourselves. When we can be with ourselves fully and appreciate our own time and just, being 100% authentic and real and truthful to ourselves, we will show up and be such a spectacular partner for somebody else. But when we deny and overlook and allow other people in our lives, our love partners, to do things, and we hang in there and stay there regardless, then guess what? You get what you get.
Yeah. That it can really be painful though, because I know for myself, I want to trust that people are telling the truth. And you even wrote about this of trusting people and thinking, well, why would they lie? I mean, really, I don't know why people choose to lie, when for me, it's easier most of the time just to tell the truth. You don't have to keep track of stuff, and it's a great way to weed people out. If you tell the truth and they don't like you, then you know that they're not your person. So I don't know exactly where I was going with this, but just that pain of putting your trust in someone and wanting to believe that you can trust them.
Discernment. It's a wonderful tool that we're given, but we don't use it. Instead of jumping into a relationship and it's like, oh, I believe everything he says and I trust everything. Listen. Just pay attention. Use a little discernment. Not that you're being judgy or anything. You're just listening. You're paying attention. You're making sure that you can connect the dots, that it sounds reasonable. Ask questions. Women, men, don't ask smart questions. We spend more time evaluating how to buy a handbag and a pair of shoes than we do a guy. Yeah. I figured this out a long time ago. I mean, pay attention. You're making an emotional investment. Would you just throw your money in any old bank and not ask important questions and not be reading their literature or paying attention to the communications they're giving you? It's the same thing with men. We need to listen to what they're saying to us. I have found when I look back, and for many of the clients I've worked with, that men tell us really what's going on, sometimes early on, but we only hear the words we want to hear.
Can you give us some examples of that?
I think that one of the ones that's most common is that you'll hear somebody express that maybe they're not really into a commitment. They're not really looking for that special one. But we keep going thinking, he's going to love me. I'm going to make him love me. Yeah, I'm going to be different. He's going to fall for me. And he thinks you're great and everything is wonderful and you're having a fabulous time and he's thoughtful and he brings flowers and the sex is great. And then guess what? One day he says to you, you know what? This has been great, but I don't really want to get tied down. I don't want to make that commitment. And we go, oh my God, I'm shattered. But they voiced it somewhere along the line. It was touched upon and we just didn't pick up on it.
So can you give us, Mal, an example? Because you do talk in your book about a day when you were first dating your ex-husband, where you had some red flags, but you brushed them off as insecurity or paranoia.
Yep. This was a humdinger. This one was, boy. We had been dating, and in fact, he had talked to me about maybe we should make a commitment about having a monogamous relationship, taking this relationship to the next step. I had a broken arm, so I wasn't really dating anybody else. I didn't think he was really dating anybody else. He didn't really voice that. But he did say to me that he had a friend coming to visit her daughter in college and that he had promised to have dinner with her. And so he felt that he should at least live up to that obligation of having dinner with this woman and her daughter. I said, oh, okay. We'd had a lovely evening the night before. I made a beautiful dinner and everything seemed fine. He said, I'll take her out to dinner and I'll call you on Sunday. I didn't hear from him. And I didn't hear from him till like Tuesday. And my stomach was right here. I knew. I said, he is with this woman. He's having sex with this woman. My whole body could sense the dishonesty. And yet when he called me and I said, what happened to you? You were supposed to call me the next day. I got caught up. I got tied up. I just lost track of time. I let that pass. And do you know what? In the divorce, he told me the truth. He had slept with the woman. Yeah, I was right. He admitted it to me finally. There is a prime example of honoring what our body is telling us. I mean, I couldn't swallow food. I just knew that this was happening.
So oh, sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
I should have stopped and listened to what I was feeling. I chose to dismiss it.
Thanks, Mel. So I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that, because I feel like that, I lost track of time, is a very common excuse that guys we're dating will make. Or even, I mean, with how distracted we all are, honestly, I've said the same thing. We do tend to lose track of time these days because life is just so filled with so many distractions. So if you had it to do over again, how do you think that might have played out? How would you have responded to his, I just lost track of time?
Well, first of all, I think if someone's really a priority, then you don't lose track of time. If they're really number one and you're not trying to pull something on somebody or, I think you remember. Now, one day, but 2 or 3, no. I thought if I really made a stink about it, he might have said, you know what, you're too possessive, or you're jealous, or, I got insecure. I should have voiced exactly what I was feeling. And I think this is a really key point in how to eliminate getting completely crushed and ripped open in the future. Voice your concern. Voice it in a way that's not attacking, but just say, you were very firm with me about calling me on Sunday or on Monday, and I was really looking forward to that call, and I didn't get it. So I'm wondering how your priorities changed or what came up that you couldn't fit that call in. I would do it in a way with the intention of grace, not attacking, not accusing, but just hold yourself in a place of grace and self-love when you're asking that question that you would just like to know. Mm-hmm. You're entitled, especially if you've got some time invested. I mean, if it's like a third date or something, probably not. But we had been dating for a few months, and we had quite a few dates. Now, we had not been intimate because I was still nursing a broken arm. I was just in physical therapy, but also I was not interested in having a physical relationship with a man that was not going to be monogamous. Not at my age. I don't need it. I wanted, a commitment that it was just the two of us. Look at girl, I gave up sharing toys in the 2nd grade. It wasn't my thing. All right. So I don't share men well. It's just not my style. Yeah. I think I deserve better than that.
And after all that time you put in, it still was happening. Because I think a lot of times if we wait long enough, people who are just looking for sex are going to move on, and that's okay. But I would think that a lot of people would think that after a few months of dating and still not being physically intimate, that this person was in it for the right reasons and was wanting to be monogamous. But
well, wanting and saying are two different things. I think someone needs to say, yeah, I really want to hang in here. I want to do this. I want to do it the right way. I'd like to have a meaningful relationship with you, exclusive. And when someone says that, you know, but don't assume just because it's been a couple of months. Obviously, he could have been sleeping with women all along on the side, and I didn't know it. Mm-hmm. But then this happened. So, yeah.
So we are speaking right now with Mal Duane. She is the author of she's the author of Alpha Chick, 5 Steps for Moving from Pain to Power. But the book we're talking about today is Broken Open, Embracing Heartache and Betrayal as Gateways to Unconditional Love. And her website is malduanecoach.com. And I think can people get a free gift on your site?
Yes, they can. Right at the very top, there is a wonderful heart healing meditation and an affirmation poster that goes with it. That's all based on the work from the book of healing the heart. Our healing is our job. We can't expect someone else to heal us. Sadly, when a relationship ends, we do expect that somebody's words or behavior will heal us. They won't. They're a Band-Aid on the wound. We have to do the inner work to heal the wound. We have to heal from the inside out. So you've got to, look at you. You got to take responsibility. You got to figure out things. What was I not paying attention to? What was I overlooking? His behavior has nothing to do with my self-worth. I'm a good woman. But let me figure out how I participated in this, that ultimately this is the outcome. And is this outcome similar to any other outcome I've had in a relationship before? And yeah, there were similarities. I've been disappointed before.
So Mal, you mentioned that you and your ex-husband are on good terms now. So I'm wondering if you couldn't trust him to live up to the agreements that you had in your marriage. But you're able to be on good terms with him, so you must be able to trust him for something. Can you tell us about how that kind of shifted for you and what that looks like?
Well, that's why it's unconditional love. That word was given a lot of thought before I put it in the title, and it's a gateway. You pass into that. So if you do the work, if you do the exercises in the book, if you take the time to do the practices, you will go through that gateway where you will see unconditional love for another human being as well as yourself. But I can look at him and I have no anger, no sizzle, no judgment about what happened. I see a human being that's a great father, a great grandfather, a really good friend. He still is a very good friend to me. He's a wise soul. He's very spiritual, always has just wonderful and sound advice about life and whatnot. So yeah, I can have that friendship. There's no desire to try to recreate something from the past that I had. There's no desire to have as an intimate partner. I think we work better at this stage after what we've gone through, being good friends.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the unconditional love, because if you're going to share your entire life with someone, share your bank account, share your home, your body, all of that, you can love someone unconditionally, but that doesn't mean that you can't have, or that you shouldn't have, any conditions on your relationship and the way that you behave. Is that not right?
Oh, you're absolutely right. There's a thing called boundaries. Yeah. So unconditional love is love without fear. That's what it really is. Because judgment is just another form of fear. It's something coming up in you. In most cases, has nothing to do with the other person. And yet we twist it and we make it judgment. And then it's like they're less than, or they're not doing, and I'm better than. When you get to that place of unconditional, you can look at somebody and say with kindness and with love in your heart, that doesn't feel good to me. No, thank you. And not worry that you're being dismissive or abusive. No, you're holding somebody in unconditional love. You respect them, but you have boundaries. No, I don't want to do that. That doesn't feel right to me. Excuse me. Please don't speak to me that way. You have the ability to say these things because you hold yourself unconditionally, you hold the other person unconditionally. So you're able to voice your truth without the sense of attacking or demeaning another human being. And if you have that unconditional love, you both know it, you feel it. That bond is there.
So I have that kind of similar relationship with a couple of my exes where their behavior in our relationship was not acceptable to me. But if they want to go and do that in their own life, it's not affecting me. I have no judgment about that. And we can be really close friends and I can still love them. And thankfully enough time has passed where I'm not still harboring resentment about the things that happened in our relationship. But I'm wondering, I had a question and I don't know if I've already answered it for myself, but I almost feel like if you're going to have unconditional love for someone, you mentioned it's love without fear. So my first thought was, well, if we have a fear that someone will leave us, then we can't love unconditionally. But I think it's dependent on the person, because I might have a fear that this person will leave me and therefore I can't love him or her unconditionally. But that doesn't mean that I can't have unconditional love for other people.
Well, if you have a fear that someone's going to leave you, it might not be love. And if you do have that fear, ultimately you will manifest it because you're putting energy into that. And fear is nothing more than an energy. It's a negative energy, actually. It's the ego that's being threatened and wants to survive, so it's getting scared. And its way of getting scared is, well, maybe he's going to leave me. You keep thinking that, and it absolutely will happen. Hands down. But if you can maintain a relationship where you have more self-confidence, you have more belief in yourself, you have a stronger sense of connection to your partner. And again, this is all inner work. It's having that deep dialogue with yourself. You get the answers when you have that deep dialogue. You know if you have that connection or you don't. Then you don't have the fear of them leaving. And if they do leave, it's not going to be devastating. You're going to understand it. You're going to say, you know what? We had a great time together, but now it's time for us to go our different ways. I love Gary Zukav because he has a theory about relationships and marriage. He doesn't believe in marriage. He says it's ancient. It doesn't make sense to live the rest of your life with this one person and this monogamous relationship. People weren't meant to live lifetimes together. And I'm starting to believe that. I think that people come into our lives to help us to grow. Our soul has a purpose to help us to expand, to fulfill that purpose, and to connect with one another to a point where it serves both of us. And then when we've both grown and maybe learned our lessons, we move on. And it's not about one leaving the other for someone else or whatever. It's just, it's time. We've done our work. We're completed. That's the way I feel about my relationship with my ex-husband. The work that we were meant to do together, the lessons we were meant to teach one another, it's completed. We are done. We did our work.
But does it not, even if you are very enlightened and really confident in yourself, I mean, doesn't it still hurt the loss or the end of a relationship, I feel like there would always be some level of pain and sadness that it's ending or changing.
Well, there's a level of it depends on how you look at it. If you look at it from love or fear. So if you look at it from love, you're kind of happy that somebody's growing and they're going on to the next stage in their life and they're going to do something else. And you're going to miss the companionship, but it doesn't mean you can't communicate in some way. You just may not be together physically. Or you can go into the feeling that, well, he's leaving. I'm still here. Maybe I wasn't good enough and that's why he's leaving. Or you start taking in the negative dialogue and then that's the fear. And guess what? Yeah, you don't feel good about it. Yeah. That ego can whip you around. It's the tail wagging the dog. And when you get out of ego and you just look at things as they are, just present moment. This is exactly what's happening at this moment. And we don't put our little spin on it about who we are, who they are. They should have. We didn't. My expectation, we leave all that out. Everything's pretty good. Mm-hmm. And everything happens in our life for a reason. And it's all about lessons. I know this wholeheartedly. I have gone through the worst crap in my life, the worst heartbreak, loss, chaos, addiction, and I know that everything I experienced has taught me something massive, and that has contributed to my growth as a woman. Today, I am happier, more whole, more complete, more connected to my purpose and my mission in this life to lift women up who've had this stuff happen to them. And say, hey, you don't need to be there in this pain. There is truly a great life on the other side of this. Look at me. Here and bubbling over. Yeah. And I'm just a regular woman, but I have figured out the purpose and the lessons.
Beautiful. Well, we're speaking right now with Mal Duane. She's the author of Broken Open, Embracing Heartache and Betrayal as Gateways to Unconditional Love. And you can find her at malduanecoach.com. So Mal, is there an exercise that's one of your favorite that you'd like to tell us a little bit about?
I really, really like I think the deep self-inquiry is the most powerful path for all of us. The more we understand what is operating us, body, mind, and spirit, what's controlling all of that, the faster we get into alignment with our core and who we really are. And that is self-mastery. That is all inner work that we do. Nobody else is going to teach us that. Nobody else can teach you how to love yourself. No book, no seminar. It's all work that comes, as I said before, from the inside out. And just doing that deep self-inquiry. And you'll know what questions to ask yourself. There are tons of prompts in the book, but you'll even figure out questions that you want answers to. Just sit quietly. Take 30 minutes every day. Make it a practice. 10, 15 minutes of just quieting your mind, relaxing, whether you listen to a little music, you meditate, you breathe, whatever you do to settle yourself down. And then when you've done that, ask yourself those questions, those meaningful questions that you really want to understand, you want to have the answers for, because those are going to be your guideposts to your success.
So Mal, do you go into that time with some questions already in mind? Do you have them written down, or do you wait and see what questions come up?
I wait and see what comes through. I allow my mind to clear itself and to quiet down. Because if I wrote the questions down, then they're coming from my mind and not from my heart. I want this inquiry to come from my heart. And the only way that can happen is if I'm still. So absolutely do whatever you can to meditate and get quiet first. Then start to say, what do I need to know today? How can I show up today and make a difference in other people's lives? What is the best quality I can bring forward in my work today if I'm presenting or running a meeting or interviewing, whatever the case may be? Ask yourself, how can I show more love to this friend or to this man or to this animal? How can I give more of myself to the planet today that others would feel it? Meaningful things. And those answers will flow. The pen will just glide across the paper. And don't try to edit it. Don't try to, worry about spelling or punctuation. Just let it rip. Just let it flow. You can always go back and read it later. But just let it come out. I'll tell you, you'll be just blown away that was inside you. Wait, it's going to come out. It's going to rock you at your core. Honest to God, you're going to be like, holy crap, where did that come from? I have to tell you something. When I wrote Broken Open, and I read the first really polished, like we're going into the final draft, I sat there and I read that and I said, where did it come from? I don't remember writing that. Yeah. It was like, where did I write that? I don't remember. And I wrote half the book. I went to India on a spiritual retreat, standing in front of the Taj Mahal, and I said, God, tell me that I'm writing the book that women need. That's all I want to do. I want to bring the words that they need to hear to help them heal their hearts. My whole body started to shake. And the wind started to blow, and I was like, and what I heard was, just be love. Just be a field of energy, of loving energy. These women will feel it. They will know that they are loved.
Oh. That's so beautiful. I can definitely feel and see your energy as you're speaking about this, the passion and the love that's just emanating out of you. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Mal. And I'm wondering, we're speaking with Mal Duane. She's the author of Broken Open, Embracing Heartache and Betrayal as Gateways to Unconditional Love. You can find her at malduanecoach.com. We have just a couple minutes left in the show, and I'm wondering what you would like to spend the last couple minutes with.
It breaks my heart to see women suffer. I feel their pain. When I'm in a room with women and there's somebody that's really emotionally upset, I feel it. They don't even have to say a word. I know. I feel people's energy, and I know when they're heartbroken. We don't need to suffer. That's not what we signed up for. Not that life is going to go perfectly. It's, there's going to be upset, but that upset and those challenges are to teach you something about yourself that you need to know before you leave the planet. Everything's a lesson. It's not that like, oh, wow, everything bad happens to me. No, it doesn't. We all have challenges, but it's about our growth and how we perceive things is what's going to create your future. And if you perceive things as, a direct attack, tearing you down, you're not good enough, these old perceptions will create the exact same experience in the future. But if you say to yourself, you know what, that was quite the lesson. Ooh, that was a stinker. But I got this out of it, and I learned that about myself, and I learned this about my communication and how to deal with somebody else and speak my truth. Guess what? Next time around, whole different outcome.
Thanks, Mal. And I feel like we also need to make sure that we include self-compassion in that, because there's going to be moments when our perception is skewed to the negative. That's part of human nature.
Yes, it is. And we have to be compassionate. We have to feel this work is never about suppressing your feelings. Because if you do that, you're never going anywhere. You're going to be so stuck. It's not about suppressing. It's about feeling, allowing those feelings, feeling them, working your way through them, starting to decipher what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. How can I feel better about something? What would make me feel better? What if I could do this? What if I did that? Taking the focus off what somebody else can do and bring it back to you. What can I do now to make me feel better? That's what I used to ask myself every day. What can I do to make myself feel better?
Oh, we could talk about this all day. It has been such a lovely experience to speak with you. Thank you so much for writing this book and sharing it with the world, Mal, and for your time here on Synchronicity. Again, we've been speaking with Mal Duane. The name of the book is Broken Open, Embracing Heartache and Betrayal as Gateways to Unconditional Love. You can find Mal at her website, malduanecoach.com. Thank you so much to Mal for being with us today, and thank you for spending this hour with us. I hope that it served you, and I want to send you so much love. Be well. Namaste.